Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 191 of Photo Critiques. And in this episode, I'm pleased to critique the work of Kris Esplin. Kris sent me in some nice shots. This first one, it's a pretty cool shot. It's called a New Year tree spirit. I guess this is some type of tradition somewhere I'm not familiar with, but it's interesting. We are really kind of blown out over here, and you could always check that when you look at the histogram on the right panel of Lightroom when you're in the Develop module. If you just hover over this triangle on the right, wherever it turns red, you can see there's red over here and red down here. That means that that is clipping, that is absolute white. There's no detail in that area. So you got to be aware of that. If you hover over the other triangle, parts that turn blue mean that it's absolute black. There's no detail in the blacks. And as you can see, there's probably some over here. We just can't see it when I do it. Let's see. Nope, there's nothing that's absolute black. So that's good. But we do have that red showing up over here. So that means that there's no detail in here, and you want to try to avoid that. So you want to usually try to get it right in camera, and I encourage you to use your histogram. Most cameras nowadays, modern DSLRs, will have an option so you can see the histogram on the back of the display, in the back display. So you take a shot and look at your histogram, and if you see a spike like this way up to the right and some way up to the left, you'd rather have that more in the middle. So you got to adjust your exposure. Either in this case you would close down your f-stop a little bit, or you would increase your shutter speed just so less light is coming in so this doesn't get blown out. It's an interesting shot. The blossoms are very bright, very nice. The ladies very colorful. It is crooked. You can tell how they're leaning to the right. So we really got to be careful about getting this straight, especially when people are in the shot. You want them to be straight up and down. So there, that's a little better. That's more straight up and down. So it's an interesting shot. This railing here gets in the way. I would have rather you got in closer. You're at 85 millimeters with a prime lens. If you had like a, I don't know, maybe 130 to 200 millimeters, and you got them from like the elbows up, and still you would have had this the blossoms in the background, I think it would have been a stronger shot. It's a tough shot to do. We got kind of two subjects. We have the blossoms here, and then we have this building, which is very interesting. But one is obscuring the other, and typically you don't want to do that. You want some separation. So this is a scene you have to work. Go over to your right and try to get more of the building, and you could still incorporate this in the shot somewhere, but have it as a secondary element, not as a dominant element. This shot, I like the idea, and you did everything perfectly as far as the f-stop, f of 4.5, so very limited depth of field. So these background ones, because it's a very busy scene, it makes this little, like part of the tree jump out. What is a little bad though is the focus. The focus is off. As you could look at it, there's nothing that's really tightly focused. Everything's a little blurry. So we really got to just get the focus down, but do it exactly like you did f of 4.5. It did a real nice job of blurring out the background, and it makes these brightly colored leaves stand out. It's a nice shot. Perfect light. It's probably was harsh light, but you did a nice job with the way the young man's walking through the water, and it's a really nice job. 1/1250th of a second at f at 2.8. Very limited depth of field, but you did a great job of focus, so it blurred out the back nicely, and he jumps out too. He's not blending into the background because everything's in focus. This is a tough shot to get. It's just such a wide expanse, and this part now is kind of out of focus, whereas the rest of it's in perfect focus, which is okay. It kind of leads you to the shot, and our eyes always want to look at the brighter parts of an image. We tend to look up at the brighter things, and we have some natural leading lines that help too. And we have this kind of study of all these squares and geometric patterns and reflections, so it's kind of an interesting shot. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's a pretty interesting shot. It's a nice shot. It's very small, so we really can't really tell if the eyes are in perfect focus, which I always mention. The light was a little harsh, but the way it's hitting it flat it's not casting any harsh shadows. If that light was coming from the sides, we would have had some harsh shadows going across the bird's body or his face. So it did a nice job. Very well, nicely processed. Just as I mentioned, it's so little. I don't know if you had to crop it to get it to this. I do like that you have the bird off to the right, so it's looking into the larger part of the frame. Very well done. The size of the print, or the size of this JPEG, I can't really tell if the focus is perfect. It's a great shot. Very well done. F18 gives you this real strong starburst effect. Very dramatic. The shot itself, if that wasn't there, I mean, it'd be an okay shot, but that makes it a really great shot. Very well done. Now we have this railing here. I'd like to see that out of there because it's just not adding anything to the shot, and it's, as we're looking at the shot itself, really the star of the show is the sun and these layers of mountains going off in the distance. So it's really well done. Now when you have some like a sun here, you could have clipping there, and as a matter of fact we don't. As I hover over there, you see nothing is turning red. But if you have a tiny bit clip down in here, that's alright. But in this case, Kris did a great job. We don't. It's a really nice shot. It's a selective color shot. It's really well done. This, we got this, I guess, sculpture going up into the sky. It is really close to here and really nothing, no space there. If you could have just used another 50mm prime lens, another prime lens, if you could have just got back just a little bit more. And I like that you have a person in here to offer some scale, so we could really understand how big this is. I think it's a better shot with the person in it, but this person is too close to the edge. We tend to just don't want them right on the edge. So if you back up just a touch and get a little more space under it and a little more space at the top, I think it would help the image a lot. It's an interesting shot, just the snow. It's just really a shot of the building in the snow. Nice sky. Did a nice job of exposure. There's nothing really blown out on this one, as you could see, and everything's in good focus. F22. I would back up your f-stop just a little bit. I've mentioned many times that although f22 will give you the most depth of field, it doesn't really give you your clearest picture, because there's a thing called diffraction. As the light moves through this tiny aperture, it distorts, so you don't get the clearest, most in focus shot you can when you're shooting at f22. Similarly, you won't get the most clearest in focus point if you're shooting wide open. In this case, it would be f at 2.8. You won't get that wherever you're focusing on won't be as well focused as it can be. Usually it's 2 to 4 stops up from wide open, so in this case it's going to be around f8, f11. You get up in that area there, you'd get just as much probably depth of field that you need, or as much depth of field as you'll need in this shot, and it would be considerably clearer. It would be dramatic. I think you'd notice a difference if you blew it up 1-to-1 like I just did, and you looked at detail in different areas of the shot. You'll see that the one that you shot, let's say at f8, will look a little crisper than the one at f22. I think that might be the last shot. Yep, that's it. Kris, thank you very much for sharing your work with us. Very interesting work. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone that watches all my videos. If you guys have time, go over to my website, anthonymorganti.com, and look at all the photography stuff I have over there. And I'd really appreciate it if you took the time and went over to YouTube and subscribed to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Anthony Morganti. And that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys soon.